This is the EspTiger Cheng, and it is a mouse pad that uses resin as its surface material. Not that many pads could compete with glass in terms of speed, but this has the speed of a glass pad, maybe even faster than some glass pads while being thinner, lighter, and cheaper. So does this mean that resin pads could replace some glass pads with how much advantages this type of material has? Not quite. There's a catch, but before that, I'll quickly gloss over the design before moving on to the surface, since it's most likely the first thing that will catch your eyes. There are two designs available on Mech Keys, which I got it from, but you can only get the Fox one if you want the larger 400 by 480, otherwise you have to stick to a smaller 320 by 400 if you prefer the other design. In my opinion, the Fox design looks pretty good by itself, but it's quite hard to match a mouse because it has too much going on with the colors. A lot of pads usually have a consistent color theme going on, like the Infinity Mice Shogun with its different shades of red, while the Cheng has an overall white theme but also has a lot of red and blue mixed in. Placing different colored mice on the pad, I couldn't really find one that looks nice when paired with it, and I reckon less is better. Maybe they could have had a white background with only red and blue accents. I think that would have made it look a little nicer and cleaner, but it's personal preference. Fox is pretty sick though. Next is the surface, which is the meat of the mouse pad. Like I mentioned at the start, this pad uses resin, so plastic. Plastic isn't exactly new, but this pad is a lot different compared to the standard hard plastic pads like the Logitech and Glorious Helios. This material is a lot softer than the conventional plastic and can actually sink in a little when you press into the surface. You can see when I bend it, it does show how flexible the pad is when compared to a traditional hard pad. The speed is very fast, its static friction is a lot less compared to other pads with similar softness. I'd say on the same level as the Super Glide from Pulsar, but slower than the Wallhack SP004. Starting a motion on this pad is effortless, and you can find yourself making micro adjustments really quickly when combined with the already fast glide speed. Dynamic friction on the other hand is also fast. You can see the mouse continuing to glide when I push it across lightly, which is similar to glass pads but not to that extent. The Cheng, when compared to the SP004, stops a lot earlier, but it's already plenty fast. Tracking is light with less tug onto the mouse gates, which can allow you to change strafe directions more easily, and I love it. There isn't much stopping power in this pad, so you'll need more control on your mouse while you're using it, but it's not anything super ridiculous, so I reckon people will be able to adjust without issues. This pad is lightly textured, and this provides feedback on your arm when using a fast pad like this one. I generally do prefer a smoother texture, but this is light enough that doesn't irritate my skin at all, so it's a good choice. The surface is also comfortable, much more comfortable than a hard pad, but I wouldn't classify the Cheng as soft. It's like between an artisan mid and a soft is what I would use to describe the surface, so it feels nice, especially considering that it's also thin at 3mm. However, this is where the good things about this pad ends. Although the glide on this pad is super nice, you will not have a great time with it unless you're wearing long sleeves or you have a compression sleeve. Why? Because this thing is stickier than glass pads by a lot with moisture. When you're not sweating, there's still a tiny bit of tug, but the moment you have any moisture on your arm, it kind of sticks to the pad. So even if the pad is more comfortable and friendly towards the skin, you're better off just covering that arm up, which is a real shame. Also, since the pad is thin and light, it does feel less premium. It's not exactly the build quality that's cheap, rather it's the flexibility along with the combination of the plasticky surface that gives off a cheaper vibe. It is $50, which isn't super expensive, but it obviously feels more flimsy than a lot of other mouse pads. The base is very good. Despite the pad being really light, it doesn't budge on my desk the moment I set it down, even when I put some force onto it. You can manage to make it move a little bit if you push hard on it enough, but that's nowhere near what you would use in normal day-to-day or gaming use. So would I recommend this pad? I like this material actually. I think it has a lot of potential, but unfortunately I can't recommend the Cheng because of the sticky arm thing. Unless you're already using an arm sleeve 24/7, I wouldn't get this pad, especially if you already have a glass pad. I could be talking out of my ass, but I don't remember seeing any resin pads in the past, with the first one being the MPET Speed M that I was supposed to get, but US Amazon decided to leave it at the warehouse for 3 weeks, so I had to settle down for this one. Anyways, resin pads are a really good concept, and I can't wait to see what other ways you can use resin to make a great mousepad, but so far right now, they're taking a good material, but executing it poorly. If I had to rate this pad, it would be in the B+ or B- tier.